Making a start with some big developments coming in this hour, India has officially rejected the Chinese criticism of the Dalai Lama's visit to Arunachal Pradesh. A statement issued by the Ministry of External Affairs said the Dalai Lama has visited Arunachal Pradesh 6 times earlier as well, and there is no reason that China should criticize this visit. It said, and I quote here, the government urges that no artificial controversy should be created around the Dalai Lama's present visit to Arunachal Pradesh. The Dalai Lama is a revered religious leader. No additional color should be ascribed to his religious and spiritual activities and visits to various states of India. Well, that's the version, the statement coming in from the Indian side. Remember, the Chinese have for the longest time criticized the visit of the Dalai Lama to Arunachal Pradesh. Now, India putting forth its stance yet again, saying that there is no substance in the criticism of the Chinese side when it comes to this visit. Our senior correspondent Ramesh Ramachandran has been tracking the very latest. Ramesh, that's an excerpt of that statement issued by the Ministry of External Affairs. Bring us up to speed with what else the statement mentions.
Right, Molly. So this statement has just come in the last few minutes or so. And as you mentioned, the Indian government clarifying its position on the ongoing visit by the Dalai Lama to the Indian state of Arunachal Pradesh, especially Tawang and the Tawang monastery. Now, which is disputed in Chinese eyes because they claim it is part of southern Tibet. Now, that said, the government maintains that, and this has been a consistent position, that the Dalai Lama is a spiritual leader of the Tibetan population and he is free to travel within the territorial limits of the Indian nation, which includes Tawang and Arunachal Pradesh as well. That said, the government says that the Dalai Lama has visited Arunachal Pradesh and Tawang on at least 6 occasions in the last 58 years since he fled Tibet to reach India in the year 1959. And he's been to Tawang, Arunachal Pradesh in 83, in 96, in 1997, 2003, and most recently in the year 2009 when he visited Tawang as well. Molly?
Right, and the Chinese side, for that matter, Ramesh, has not been mincing any words there either. They have for the longest time been referring to the religious leader as being a splittist.
Indeed, that's the terminology they use to describe the Dalai Lama, the religious leader of the Tibetan people. They call him a splittist, they call him a clique, various words to describe what the Chinese feel is his position vis-a-vis the Chinese state. But that said, the Dalai Lama has consistently maintained that he's not calling for independence or secession from the Chinese state. He merely wants recognition of the Tibetan culture and traditions within the rubric of the Chinese nation state, which is so-called the middle path. Now, that said, the Chinese maintain that his visits are splittist in nature and that his visits should be curtailed within the territorial boundaries of India. That includes Arunachal Pradesh as well, because they see Tawang as a part of southern Tibet, and therefore they claim that Tawang and Arunachal should be part of the larger Chinese nation or Chinese state. Molly? Right,
and refuting those allegations, of course, and the minute-by-minute developments as we constantly track them. Ramesh, the latest, of course, coming in from the Indian side, the update being that the Indian side maintains that the leader can move about in India wherever he wants. So that's, of course, the Indian side clarifying and not mincing any words there either, putting forth its stance and reiterating that the religious leader can and is free to move about in India wherever he wishes to.
Absolutely. You couldn't have put that better, Molly. The fact remains, and this has been India's consistent position, that the Dalai Lama is a spiritual or religious leader of the Tibetan people, number one. And number two, he is free to move within the territorial boundaries of India. That includes Arunachal Pradesh and Tawang in particular. Now, that said, the BJP-RSS combine have called for a more aggressive stance on the issue of China. They are reneging or revisiting India's position on one China policy, which has not been the case for the last several years now. There's been a subtle shift away from recognition of the one China that includes Tibet, that includes Taiwan. So clearly, the India-China relations are undergoing a flux, as it seems, given the fact that Chinese reluctance to give India membership of the Nuclear Suppliers Group, given China's reluctance to proscribe Masood Azhar, the Pakistani terrorist, under the UN. So all these issues go to prove that Tibet is emerging as a lever or a leverage in India-China relations going forward. Molly?
And should there be any security concerns, Ramesh, when the leader does reach the disputed region?
Not really. Security is tight. I'm given to understand that the Indo-Tibetan Border Police, the ITBP, which is a premier paramilitary force, and the Arunachal Police themselves, the local police, are taking care of the security arrangements in Tawang and everywhere else that the Dalai Lama travels. That said, he has his own security paraphernalia and security details, so security should not be a concern. It's only a diplomatic fallout that India and China are currently watching out for. Molly?
All right, so a quick recap for our viewers who might just be tuning in. India snubbing China when it comes to the visit of the religious leader, the Dalai Lama, saying that Dalai Lama has visited Arunachal earlier as well, and rejecting criticism of the leader's Arunachal visit, saying that he is free to move about in India wherever he wishes to. In fact, in that statement, also mentioning that he has visited Arunachal Pradesh 6 times earlier as well, and there is no reason that China should criticize this visit. Remember, China has for the longest time been referring to the leader as being a splittist. The Indian government urging that no artificial controversy should be created around Dalai Lama's present visit to Arunachal Pradesh. The Dalai Lama is a revered religious leader. No additional color should be ascribed to his religious and spiritual activities and visits to various states of India. So that's the strongly worded statement coming in from the Ministry of External Affairs. We do expect the Chinese side, Ramesh, to naturally also react as the back and forth continues.
Indeed, Molly. I mean, if the past is any indicator, that Chinese foreign ministry can be expected to make a statement, yet another statement going forward. And it should come as no surprise to the India-China watchers if they indeed make another statement going forward. I mean, it will be straight from the Chinese playbook, as it were, to continuously hammer this fact that Arunachal is a disputed territory, whereas that's not the case, Molly.
All right, keep tracking the very latest. Ramesh will, of course, keep coming back to you as the back and forth continues between the Chinese and the Indian sides over the visit of the Dalai Lama. In the latest that's coming in, the Indian side has issued that statement snubbing China on that visit, saying that the leader is free to move about in the country wherever he wishes to. And meanwhile, the leader's trip to Arunachal Pradesh and Tawang there has been rescheduled due to bad weather. According to the official program, the Dalai Lama was to consecrate a new Tara temple today morning. His visit to the state comes 8 years after his previous visit. Now has been rescheduled due to bad weather. That's the latest that we are getting in at this point. Meanwhile, the visit has naturally irked China, as we were discussing. China has warned India of a diplomatic damage for allowing the Dalai Lama to visit Tawang, which, remember, China claims as its own territory. In the latest that we are gathering at this point, the visit of the Dalai Lama to Tawang in Arunachal Pradesh has been rescheduled due to bad weather.
His Holiness the Dalai Lama.